Hello everyone and welcome to the Frankie and Geo show, where we take a look at the talking points around West Ham and get Frankie's opinion on it. But today, Frankie, you want to kick it off with another video that you've seen during the week. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, it's just well, we seem to keep going back to TalkSport at the moment. They have a lot to say about West Ham, and certainly the David Moyes and Lopetegui situation. And just when you think it's all said and done, and we can move on, and it's all, you know, a new era and everything else, Simon Jordan manages to throw another little dig in there and to suggest that Lopetegui's lucky to manage West Ham after David Moyes and his spectacular reign at the club over the last few years. So it was just a headline that sort of just piqued your frustration again at that particular news channel. And yeah, just a really... I sort of went into the video slightly with an open mind, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to let my opinions on Moyes sort of affect me here. Yeah. I just want to hear what the man's got to say. And it's so funny how they really start with the fact that David Moyes is the saviour of West Ham. He saved them. We would be banging trouble. We would be probably a League One club by now, compared to what they seem to think. And then he talks about Lopetegui's time at Wolves. He didn't save Wolves. No talk like that whatsoever. None of those sort of language, none of that sort of, you know, suggestion that he actually come in and done an incredible job to save them from the position that they was in. No, David Moyes saved West Ham. Lopetegui didn't save Wolves. He just come in and done an all right job. So, yeah, really annoying, really frustrating, and he sort of wound you up a little bit just with the language and the sort of phrases they keep plugging all the time, you know?
Yeah, I think this might surprise a few people, but I'm almost on like a little bit of like a spree. I'm just ignoring sort of negative connotations to do with West Ham at the minute. So I saw the video that you're referring to, but I just didn't click on it because I thought I'm not going to benefit from this. It's just going to wind me up because I'm not Lopetegui's biggest fan, but I'm certainly not his biggest critic either. I'm just a bit lukewarm with it. I think the appointment's an okay appointment. I think it's a safe pair of hands, and that's that. But I wouldn't say he's lucky. Like lucky to manage West Ham it's very extreme, because I think it is a good job for him. I think it's a fantastic club to come and manage in terms of the finances you're going to have, and obviously the Paqueta things possibly made it a very difficult first day in the job for him. But it's a good job to get. So would I say he's lucky? Maybe, but I'd consider that about any manager that would get West Ham because of how I view West Ham through a prism of being a West Ham fan. But sometimes lucky equates to fortunate, and I'm not sure I'd say he's fortunate to become our manager, because he deserves it to some extent because of what he's done in the game. He's got this job on merit. It's not like we've gone to League Two and thought, who's the good manager here? Let's take a punt on him. It's not Vincent. Lopetegui deserves the West Ham job more than Vincent Kompany deserves the Bayern Munich one. That's what I'll say. If there's any manager at the minute that's lucky to get his job this week, it's Vincent Kompany going to one of the biggest clubs in world football off the back of getting Burnley relegated. That is a lucky appointment. I get why Bayern Munich are doing it, by the way. And before people say, would you ham at West Ham? Yeah, I would have been okay with Kompany at West Ham. But to say he's lucky, that does a big disservice to what he's achieved so far in his career as a manager. And like I said, I'm not his biggest fan, but he's certainly not a rubbish manager when you look at what he's done. You know, there's certain other ones out there that you can apply the tag to. Frank Lampard, for example. He's a lucky manager to get any job because what's he done in the game? Out with, not on the pitch, off the pitch. What's he done? Not much. He's lucky. So anyway, wound you up a little bit, did it?
Yeah, it was
me up, and I'm not even watching it.
Well, it's not even just that. You look at. Sometimes I think we all sort of thought is the narrative controlled a bit by Sullivan and the media at West Ham. It seems like actually it was more from David Moyes' friendship with them and how he is with them, because you know if it was David Sullivan, and we know he's had some involvement with some of the people there, he's good friends with Jim White and so on, so we know that. But I thought they would have been really plugging Lopetegui and saying really positive things about him. And actually, the narrative isn't that at the moment. It's still the fact that actually David Moyes did such a good job. I don't think it mattered what manager would have come in. We could have gone and got Amorim. We could have got whoever it was that you wanted, or whoever you would have thought would be the big coup for West Ham. They would still have this opinion that they're lucky to manage West Ham. What they're actually saying isn't that Lopetegui's lucky because of his credentials or anything like that. What they're saying is David Moyes should still be West Ham manager right now, and nobody else should be because of the job that he was doing. And that's it. So it's really strange. And then, you know, Simon, they're almost trying to set Lopetegui up for a little bit of a fall.
Yeah.
So, you know, Jordan's going, oh, you know, he comes with big expectation and he comes with this and he comes with that. They're proper putting him on a platform as if to say, you know, you've literally got to go and turn West Ham into a Champions League side, or your job isn't going to be, you know, worthy of them getting rid of David Moyes. So very strange for them to be saying the things that they are, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, he's an employee of TalkSport now, David Moyes, for the Euros.
Yeah.
So technically, they're no longer, they never were neutral, but they're definitely not neutral anymore because of the fact that they're now defending an employee under the same corporation. And Simon Jordan's always sort of disliked David Sullivan. It's no secret. Like I said, Sullivan's got some mates at the club, Moose being one of them, and like you said, Jim White and stuff. But I wouldn't say Simon Jordan's one of them. But what you would say is he's a friend and now a colleague of David Moyes as well, but definitely does feel like they've got the knives out for Lopetegui before he even started, and it's made me quite, I wouldn't say protective of Lopetegui, I think that'd be the wrong word to use, but it's made me root for him even more. And I just think, because if he does get off to a bad start, if we get unfortunate fixtures and we're away to Man City and at home to Arsenal the first 2 games, there's a good possibility we will be bottom of the league after 2 games with no points, and they'll be sat there going, well, be careful what you wish for and stuff. I just hope that the fixtures are kind and he gets off to a nice, easy start, because momentum is important in football as well. And if we can get favourable fixtures, get a few wins under our belt early doors, A, the season looks better, but B, it maybe just keeps the wolves from the Lopetegui door, because I think they're there at the minute, waiting, almost just waiting for him to mess up. The knives are sharpened for Lopetegui with some of the mainstream media and TalkSport especially, because they want to be proven right. There's a culture of "I told you so" in this day and age, you know. But even though I try and stay away from it on YouTube, I try not to be like, "Hey, I told you this, I told you that," because nobody really wants to hear it. You know, nobody wants to hear someone saying, I called this and I called that. I get a lot wrong, trust me. But I get some things right now and again. But you can just imagine the script for TalkSport saying, we told you about Moyes and Lopetegui. It's written already. I wouldn't be surprised if they even recorded the video. It's just sat there on TalkSport's YouTube channel waiting to be published. We've
got a bit of a job to do, mate. We've got a bit of a job to do, you know, in that, like you just said, if things don't quite go our way at the beginning, we've got to show that we're not this thing that they paint us to be. We're not this club that will just turn. We're not this fan base that will get on his back. We're not all the things that they make us out to be, that we're absolutely not. We've just got to really keep that in mind and just keep really behind. Just for that whole first period, we've got to make a lot of noise. We've got to get right behind him. When things don't quite go our way, we've got to stay positive. Look, we are all about telling it how it is. West Ham fans are, I think, are very honest. And I think that's why we get a bad rap at times, because we are so honest. We call it as we see it, and that's really important. And I think we've always been very good at doing that. So, you know, I'm not for 1 second saying, look, if the wheels are falling off and things do look terrible and he's making some really awful decisions, that we just totally ignore that. But I do think we've got to give a bit of benefit of the doubt. We're going to be playing a different type of football. It's going to take a little bit of time. And we've got a big job to just not go on the turn, stay really noisy, stay really loud, stay behind the team, and do what West Ham fans do best.
And context, give context is important. Just like we did for the Moyes thing, which was, why do you want him gone? We tried to provide that context, which was, well, hang on a minute. Have you watched us 19 minutes week in, week out? If you did, you'd perhaps understand a little bit more. They just removed that part of it. Said, you're ninth in the league. What do you expect? Well, hang on. Again, you're just removing the actual complaints here, which is, there wasn't that many people complaining about being ninth in the league. It was more about how we got to ninth in the league, the lack of an academy, the wastage of transfer funds, the attitude towards the fan base, the style of football. Those were the complaints, but they ignored all that and focused on the one thing that actually Moyes could have had in his favour. They focused on just that one thing. So I think West Ham fans provided context of the Moyes situation, and I think we'll do it again for the Lopetegui thing. Like you said, we do get off to a slow start. Well, it's a new manager. We're trying to change style. We could have a bit of an issue with one of our star players at the start of the season as well. News that's dominated the end of the week, Frankie. I mean, we announced Lopetegui, and a few hours later, the positivity had turned to concern as Paqueta was charged by the FA. What was your initial reaction to that? And, you know, given you've had 24 hours to process the news, what's your thoughts on it now?
Same old West Ham. Just, it wouldn't be we want it any other way, would we? This is the West Ham way. There's a West Ham way on the pitch, and there's a West Ham way off the pitch, and this is the West Ham way off the pitch. Only we could want to go and do. How long did we hold off the announcement of the manager and everything else? And when they finally decide the day that they're going to announce it, a couple of hours later they time it that it coincides with that. So only West Ham could do that. And yeah, I mean, it's. I think we were all fairly surprised. I still look at some of it, and some of those, I've watched the videos of the 4 tackles in question, and I've seen other people commenting, and I think the general opinion from the majority is that you see these tackles multiple times on the pitch every game, and they don't look to be particularly out of the ordinary. Oh, there's one of them in there that you really do look at and just think, it doesn't seem that hard to get a yellow card on a football pitch, but some of the tackles that he did, you just think you just wouldn't make that tackle. It wasn't like.
Are you referring to the Aston Villa one when he passed the ball and he clattered him like a few seconds later? It was nowhere near. And even if Luiz didn't pass the ball, he still wouldn't have won the ball. He went for the leg, not the ball.
Yeah, but do you know what? Even that one, I almost give a little benefit of the doubt on that one, in the sense that I was trying to look at the play and I was thinking, right, so they're breaking, but we've got every man behind the ball. It wasn't. Sometimes I call for tackles to be made on the halfway line when it stops a counter attack that could be a goal threat. Well, this wasn't that. We had every man behind the ball other than Paqueta. So it wasn't like it was a let's stop the play here and stop and break him because this is looking dangerous. However, they'd push so far forward. If Paqueta wins that ball, we're in. Like, we had a couple of players advanced, and if he would have got that ball, I actually think we break through and we've got a chance of scoring a goal there. So I almost gave him a little bit of a squeeze for that one. I sort of thought, do you know what? You've lunged in. It don't make sense when you look at it from a perspective that they're attacking. But actually, you looked at it and thought, if he wins that ball, we turn around and break, and we've actually got a 3v2 or whatever it was. So I was like, okay, I can sort of... So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. He picked up yellow cards similarly right up until the end of the season, even after that situation came out and so on. Obviously, he ended up missing our last game because he'd got yellow cards again. So it's, you know, he never changed that even after the betting scandal come out. But I mean, seeing the things that abounded around today with potential 10-year bans and so on is quite a worry. Look, there's so many ways of looking at it. It stops him going to City. I don't see that going through now. We then have some people saying, oh, he's going to be loyal to West Ham. What will his loyalty be like to West Ham now after we supported him through all of this? He obviously seems to be very... He needs to clear his name. I think the way he's talking about it isn't just about the football. He actually sees it as it's a detriment of his character. He sees it as, this is painting me to be somebody I'm not here, and I actually forget about continuing to be able to play football. I don't want my name being tarnished with this. So I think that's a really good, you know, version of that. That seems to, for him, it comes across that he's so against that type of thing happening that, yeah, if sometimes with boxers, you see when they do drug scandals and all that sort of stuff, they don't really care what their name's like. They just want to be able to fight on and continue boxing because that's their career and that's their job. He actually seems like he's coming across and saying, no, don't ever paint me out to be this sort of person that would do this. So I think that was a positive, and it seems like it's going to be so hard to prove. If it is just a theory, oh, that tackle looked a bit dodgy and there was some bets and so on. Well, you used to like a card bet every now and then.
Still do.
I think that on many occasions you would have probably said to me, well, I fancy Paqueta to get a card today. Well, that isn't because he's told you. Well, I hope not, unless you you get some inside information.
He hadn't told me truth as well. I'd have increased my stake a little bit.
100%. So that's, you know, but I think there's so many times where you looked at it and you thought you could have called Paqueta to get a card today, and then he went and got one, and it was a reckless tackle. But that weren't with inside information. That's just knowing the player and knowing what he's like. So our fingers crossed that it doesn't turn into anything more, and they're going to find it very, very hard to prove. But with these people, it's when they've got it out for you and they've got a bit of vendetta, then that they can push. And like you say, I think he antagonised them a little bit. I think he started giving it the big un and going, well, come on then. And they've gone, right, well, we'll have some of that, and we'll show you that you ain't bigger than we are. So.
Yeah, I don't think that's helped. Like you said, his team were like, well, we're going to sue you then. So the FA come, we'll bring it on then. Let's do this. If you want to, well, you just use a box analogy. You want to have a boxing bout? Let's do one. We're going to have a go and you have a go, and we'll see which one works. The FA have almost got nothing to lose at this point, have they? You know, not guilty, all right, fine. You continue as you are. Guilty, bound. Now we can throw the book at you. From one Brazilian to two more earlier this week by Extra Sample, it was revealed that we're close to making our first, or I think the term was he was expecting these two signings to be the first ones. But since then, there's been a lot of noise from the Brazilian side of things, so much so that the manager has publicly been commenting on it now. First of all, we've got Wesley, the right-footed 19-year-old left winger. His manager basically said he doesn't want to lose the player. So it does feel like it's almost like confirmation that we are in for him when the manager's speaking like that. And then we've got the centre-back, whose name I always get the wrong way around. His name is Fabrizio Bruno, but I always call him Bruno Fabrizio. I still think Bruno Fabrizio feels like the most natural one. Those are the two names. Bruno's more, anyway, Fabrizio Bruno, 20-year-old centre-back. The latest at the minute is there's a bit of a dispute from his current club, Flamengo, because he actually wants to play another game so he can say goodbye and all that. But actually the club are a bit concerned he might pick up an injury and derail his transfer of, which is believed to be around 10 to 15 million pounds. But these two look like most likely signings at the minute, Frankie. A, ever heard of them? And B, even though you've not heard of them, what's your opinion on the transfers?
Well, I don't necessarily have an opinion on either of them. I can't pretend like I've watched and play much football or any football, to be perfectly honest. The Brazilian league is. I've had a little bit of looking at the youngsters. Obviously, Hendrick at the moment is the one who's really sort of got a lot of buzz and attention around him. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm not have no interest in any of that football, but those particular players aren't people that I've ever really paid any attention to. From what I hear, and it is just from what you hear, that the centre-back is a ball-playing centre-back. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet. Well, that ties perfectly in with the way that Lopetegui usually plays, and it sort of ties in with something that we seem to have a bit of a lack of at the moment. So I would be very happy to see that sort of signing. It also coincides with the fact that towards the end of last season, we had that story come out that Tim was out in Brazil and watching football out there and so on. So, you know, if the man's gone out there and he's plucked two players out, then I'm all absolutely for it, because I think we're all very confident in Tim's ability to go and spot a really good player. So, I think it makes sense. They're two positions that I think, with the winger guy, is he more of a right player or a left?
Plays on the left, but he's right-footed. So the impression I get, he's a little bit like Luis Diaz at Liverpool kind of style. He's got a little bit of pace, a little bit of trickery about him. But it's certainly, like, on paper, a position we're looking to fulfill, isn't it? So
it is. I think both positions make perfect sense. And the sort of money that we're talking about, it's not massive risk. It makes it let's go back to what we said before and what everybody says about blocking people and everything else. We've got a Brazilian defender who's probably about 19, 20 years old, who I've watched a few times in the youth games. And a lot of people have said about blocking players potentially coming through. Look, that might be a real good signing for that defender, who I don't think's ready. and I've watched him a few times. I think he's got some real weaknesses to his game, Luizão. I think he's very limited in certain areas. Bringing in a guy who's the age of, I think the guy we're looking at is 28. I believe.
Yeah.
So someone who's a bit more experienced coming through, he could actually put his arm around Luizão, and Luizão can have a guy who's from the same part of the world, who speaks the same sort of language, and they understand the game in the same way. And it might actually be a really good thing to see him come on and then be the person who steps into this guy's shoes 3 or 4 years down the line. So for me, all round, they seem to make sense. I think they're sensible signings, and I'd be quite looking forward to seeing what they're all about, really.
Good man. Right, shall we leave it there, Frankie?
I think we can leave it there.
Right then, you made it to the end of the podcast, so you've obviously liked it enough. Please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up, subscribing you around here. Myself and Frankie will catch up with you the week after next. Next week, I'm off back to Scotland, so I'll be away for the week, so I won't be able to have a chin wag with him. So there'll be a lot to catch up on. When I'm back, Frankie, we might have 2 new players, maybe even 3. The new gaffer will be in here for a little bit. Obviously, he's got no training, but the plans will be underway. And Paqueta might be banned. He won't be banned just yet. It's just a joke. He won't be banned just yet. A week in the world of West Ham is a very, very long time. So we'll have lots to catch up on. What? I do not know. But we'll definitely have a lot to catch up on then, Frankie. I look forward to it. But thank you very much.
I'll see you then.